2025's crowded with handguns. Every company shouting they've built the next big thing. Every forum swears their pick is the only one worth a damn. But here's the truth. Most of it's noise. Still, there are a handful of pistols you just can't ignore. Some because they're trusted, some because they're hated, and some because they're stirring up more arguments than any gun in years. These are the pistols that keep showing up on duty belts, at ranges, and in late-night debates that never die. You may not like every choice here, but I promise you'll feel something about all of them. So sit back, lean in, and let's count down the 10 handguns you can't ignore in 2025. Alright, now let me tell you about how I got suckered into liking the FN 509 Tactical. Back in late 2022, I walked into my buddy Rick's place. He's the type that buys every new toy, even if he doesn't shoot half of them. On the table sits this thing, all dressed up with a red dot, suppressor height sights, and a mag that looked like it belonged in a submachine gun. I laughed and said, "What's that? A microwave with a trigger?" He just grinned and tossed me a mag. "Try it, Steve." So we went out the back with snow on the ground and the wind sharp as hell. First few rounds felt stiff. Slide was heavy and the trigger wasn't sweet. But then I loaded up some dirty steel case junk I found in my truck, left over from a class I never finished, and the damn thing ate it like it was premium brass. No hiccups and no fuss. After about 3 mags in, I started to feel it. That flat recoil, that planted grip. I looked over at Rick and just nodded. Alright, I get it. It ain't a pretty gun, that's for sure. Still looks like a toolbox to me, but every time I shoot it, it reminds me not to judge a pistol by its plastic. I'm not gonna lie, it's got some heft to it, and that trigger's not gonna blow your mind anytime soon, but when you need a pistol that just eats ammo and doesn't throw any fits, this is the one. Nobody expected a 380 to keep demand in 2025, but the Ruger LCP Max refuses to be ignored. On paper, it shouldn't matter this much. Small frame, light caliber, and a trigger that's never gonna win awards. Yet every time the talk turns to concealed carry comfort, this little pistol sneaks right back into the conversation. The reason's simple. It disappears. 10 ounces unloaded, a body so small you forget it's there until you need it. I've watched shooters who swore they'd only trust 9mm give in after realizing they left their bigger pistols at home. The LCP Max may not punch like a duty gun, but it's the one people actually carry when nothing else feels practical. Of course, the debate never ends. Critics dismiss it as underpowered, a toy that looks serious until it barks. Fans fire back that a 380 on you beats a 9mm left in the safe. And when you add the fact that it holds 10 plus 1 or 12 with the extended mag, suddenly the line between compromise and confidence gets blurred. Love it or hate it, the LCP Max proves that in 2025, even the smallest pistol can cast a long shadow. You know what finally made me give up on customizing pistols? This gun. I used to mess around with polymer guns a lot. Glock, SIG, CZ, trying to get them to feel just right. Always swapping triggers, adding weights, sticking grip tape on like it was going to change the world. But that got old. Then I picked up the M&P 9 2.0 full-size metal version. First thing I noticed was the weight. Not too heavy, but enough to sit steady. That metal frame gives it some real backbone. Felt like a real full-size pistol for once. The grip texture, actually useful. The trigger, way better than the older M&Ps. No sponge, just a clean break. Took it to the range with zero expectations and I didn't miss much. Follow-up shots were fast, muzzle stayed low, and it didn't beat my hand up like some of the lightweight junk out there. I didn't even have to change a single thing, and that usually never happens with me. If you're done playing dress up with your pistols and just want something that works, as well as feel like it was built to last, this is that gun. When Springfield announced the Echelon, most folks rolled their eyes. Another polymer striker, another Glock killer, another promise that'd vanish in a year. The diner talk was brutal. Springfield's late to the party. It'll never stack up. Just hype with a fancy name. But here's the thing. The Echelon never vanished. In fact, it started showing up at ranges, and not just in the hands of fanboys either. Guys who swore off Springfield after the XD years picked one up out of spite and then kept shooting. That's where the surprise kicked in. The trigger ran cleaner than folks expected, the modular optic system actually worked, and suddenly it wasn't just another copycat. The conspiracy still lingers. Some say Springfield just threw every gimmick they could into one pistol, hoping something would stick. Others argue it's their first real step into playing in the big leagues with SIG and Glock, and that's the debate. Is the Echelon proof Springfield's turned a corner, or just a shiny distraction? Either way, it's not invisible anymore. By 2025, this pistol forced itself into the conversation, and you can't ignore a gun that made skeptics stop laughing. Most folks don't believe me when I say the PDP full size might have saved me from giving up on striker-fired pistols altogether. I was this close to swearing them off. Plastic triggers, mushy brakes, bad grip angles, I'd had enough. Then, a close friend of mine let me borrow his Walther PDP full-sized one weekend. He said, take it to the range, beat it up, and see what you think. So I did, and right out of the gate, that 4.5-inch barrel shooter ran smoother than half the tuned-up metal guns that I owned. The trigger, best damn out-of-the-box pull I've touched on a polymer gun, period. None of that spongy crap. Just a clean wall and a fast reset that made you want to shoot faster. But it wasn't just a trigger. The grip texture actually felt like it belonged on a real gun, not some molded toy. And those slide serrations, finally something you can grab with sweaty hands or even gloves on. This full-size pistol changed my whole outlook on polymer handguns. I went from carrying steel all the time to trusting this plastic German beast more than half of my collection. And yep, maybe it doesn't have the clout of Glock or SIG, but at the range, this thing holds its own. It's a full-sized workhorse, and in 2025, I think it's still the most overlooked pistol in its class. Now, number 2 is where I finally gave up on building perfect pistols from scratch. If you're tired of wasting time and cash on upgrades, you'll want to hear this one out. The first thing folks notice about the Staccato C2 ain't the way it shoots, it's the price tag. $2,000 for a sidearm? That alone splits the room. Some shake their heads, call it Gucci gear for show-offs. Others grin and say, you get what you pay for. But here's where the conspiracy whispers start. Why are police departments issuing these when budgets are tighter than ever? Is it because the C2 really offers that much of an edge? Or because Staccato knows how to play the contract game? The answer depends on who you ask, and that's exactly why the debate never dies. On the line, there's no denying it runs flat. Double stack 2011 design, crisp trigger, and accuracy that makes most striker pistols feel clumsy. I've watched hardened Glock guys go quiet after a single mag, and I've also watched civilians scoff, reminding everyone you could buy 2 carry pistols for the same price. That's C2's curse and its crown. Loved and hated in equal measure, but impossible to ignore. In 2025, it's the rare pistol that forces you to pick a side. Either it's the best duty-sized carry gun alive or the most overpriced gamble on the market. You ever picked up a pistol and just know it was made by folks who actually shoot? Not some lab boys or marketing guys, but by real shooters? That's the SIG P226 Legion for you. Full size, all metal, no compromises, and it damn well feels like it. I picked mine up years back when folks were still arguing over striker fired or hammer fired like it was politics. But this one, it shut everybody up at the range. First mag I ran through it, I was stacking rounds like it knew what I was thinking about. No optic, no trick parts, just good iron sights and clean mechanics. It's got that DASA setup, and I know that double action first pull scares off the plastic pistol crowd. Well, let him go. Once you break it in, once your thumb and trigger finger get used to that rhythm, it'll really feel addicting. You'll get crisp single action follow-ups without any mesh or mess. I tried ditching it once, thought I'd modernize. Grabbed a Legion X5, too competition focused. Tried a CZ Shadow 2, nice gun, but something about the grip felt off after long sessions. Came crawling back to the P226 like an ex you shouldn't have left. It's not cheap, and it never was, but it earns every dollar. Every time I show up with it, folks ask me to run a mag. Every time I clean it, it reminds me why I never sold it. This is the gun I keep in my go bag when I want something that won't fail me and still shoots like a laser. In 2025, after all the new polymer hype and optic-ready trends, I'm still packing the Legion. Last fall, I was at a weekend steel shoot. Just regular guys, nothing pro. There was this older dude, mid-60s maybe, showed up with nothing fancy. Old belt, basic holster, looked like he just grabbed whatever was in his drawer. But the way he shot was on a different level. He was running the HK VP9L OR, a full-size pistol built for control and accuracy. Not rushing and not trying to impress, just hit after hit, smooth and steady. Didn't miss much. He beat half the guys there, including a few who brought tuned 1911s and optics. Afterwards, I asked him why that gun, and he said it just does what I tell it to. No drama. So I went and tried one later that week. The longer slide makes it stay on target better, the recoil feels light, the trigger is clean without any surprises. It's just one of those guns you don't have to fight. It just works for you. There's no propaganda, no promotion. Just a full-size pistol that's damn good on the range and easy to keep consistent. That's why it's here. Alright, we're getting close to my top picks now, and trust me, the pistol at number 3 damn near made me swear off striker-fired guns for good, and you'll see why. I didn't buy the Shadow 2 for a long time because it's too expensive. After all, I'm not a sports person. Well, it was just too competition looking. I always thought it was just for guys wearing jerseys and arguing over split times. I shoot to stay sharp and not to shave milliseconds. But about a year ago, I ran into a guy named Dennis at the indoor range. Vietnam vet, quiet guy. Just stands there punching bullseyes while everyone else is making noise. One day, I see him pull out this heavy two-tone pistol. Looked like a brick with a barrel, the Shadow 2. I asked, ain't that overkill for the range? He just handed it to me, no words. First thing I noticed, that weight. It felt anchored in the hand. And when I pulled the trigger, I actually paused. The break was clean as a whistle. No slap, no grit. Just shot straight through. I dumped a mag and looked down. Hole on top of hole. And I'm not a sponsored shooter either. Dennis smiles and says, it shoots better than I do. That day I realized it's not just a race gun, it's a damn range scalpel. If you want to feel like you know what you're doing, even on your worst day, the Shadow 2 does have the work for you. Sure, it may be heavy, but at the range, that's not a flaw, that's the point. Back in 21, I went through this dry spell where I just couldn't shoot straight to save my life. Wasn't the ammo's problem, I was shooting the same 147 grain reloads I always used. Wasn't the grip either. I was running my Glock 34 tuned up just right. But something felt off. My groupings were loose, my confidence was worse. I damn near packed it up for a month. But then one day, my buddy Bill showed up at the range with his long slide Springfield. Said he got it cheap off a guy who needed rent money. I wasn't in the mood, but I took one mag through it, and it certainly felt like cheating. I still remember that first 5-shot group, tighter than I'd shot in weeks. The recoil just melted away. The trigger reset felt like flipping a light switch. It gave me back that rhythm I'd been missing. I didn't need months off, I just needed a different damn pistol. Next week, I bought my own. Been using it as my range buddy ever since. It doesn't have hype, and it doesn't have a cult behind it, but when I'm shooting for me, not testing gear, not filming, just shooting for joy, this is the one I pick every time. But hold on a sec, if you think that's impressive, wait till you see the gun I nearly sold, but ended up calling my range scalpel. That's still coming up. You want to know what pissed me off the most the first time I ever tried the Rival S? I didn't want to like it. I was already a couple of $100 into tuning my old range gun. Thought I had it dialed in. And then one weekend, a buddy of mine hands me this clunky black Canik and says, "Here, try not to smile." And my God, I pulled that trigger once and just stood there. The reset is so short, it felt like cheating. The damn thing tracks like it's stuck on rails. I emptied the mag and looked at him like he's just handed me a race car with a full tank. I remember muttering, "Damn, this thing's not playing fair." This isn't your everyday carry gun. It's heavy, steel-framed, and built to sit on a bench next to a pile of brass. But at the range, this thing embarrasses pistols twice its price. 5-inch barrel, fiber optic front sight, and that flared magwell, it's like they threw the whole competition waitlist at it. And let's be honest, some folks still turn up their noses at Canik. Oh, it's Turkish. Yeah, well, so what? It's so reliable as hell, shoots flat, and puts rounds where you tell it to. You can keep babying your $1,500 Save Queen, but I'll take the Rival S and outshoot you with it all afternoon. I grew up with the M9, carried it, cleaned it, cussed at it, but it never let me down. So when I heard Beretta dropped a performance version of that old warhorse, I figured it was just lipstick on a relic, but man was I wrong. A couple of months back, I borrowed one from a guy at the club who swore it was the, quote, best DASA range gun ever made. I figured he was full of it until I racked the slide. Felt like it was riding on glass rails, no joke. That thing slid smoother than any other 1911 I've handled under $2,000. The weight may be a brick, but that's why it shoots like a dream. The steel frame soaks up recoil like you're firing 22s. First mag I dumped through it, I wasn't even trying, just keeping the front sight in the notch, and still ended up with a tight group dead center. Trigger was clean, not match grade crisp, but predictable. And for a DASA setup, that's pretty rare. What really got me through was that after the second mag, I caught myself grinning. Felt like I was 20 again, qualifying on the line, except this time, the gun helped. If you're a Beretta guy, this is your holy grail. And if you're not, the 92X performance might just convert you. It's not tactical, and it isn't even trendy, but it's damn good at hitting what you aim at over and over. I'll tell you this straight. I laughed the first time I ever laid eyes on a Glock 34. I was asking myself, what the hell is this? A Glock 17 that ate its Wheaties? Thing just looked long enough to paddle a canoe. But the guy behind the counter just nodded and said, "Try it." And this was back in 07. I think older gen, but the idea is the same. I took it to the range, and my groups tightened up like I suddenly knew what I was doing. Recoil felt like it took a nap. I was running cheap ammo range too. Aluminum case, dusty as hell. But this gun didn't care. It just kept pushing holes in paper right where I pointed it. The Gen 5 version? I picked that up not long ago, and yep, they fixed the trigger mush, the slide feels smoother, and it's optics ready now. But the spirit's still there. Long slide Glock with zero drama. You're not getting cute looks at the range with this one. Nobody calls it sexy, but when it's time to shoot fast and straight, I trust this more than some overpriced metal diva. Most folks overlook it because it's big and odd looking. Well, I say let 'em. I'll take consistent over cool any damn day. Now I'll be honest, it still feels like holding a plank of wood. Not the most ergonomic thing in the world, but when it's about shooting straight, I don't care if it feels like a brick. When the dust settles, a handgun isn't just a tool, it's reputation,
It's history. It's the arguments folks can't stop having. These are the 10 that demand attention, whether you carry them or just curse them. You don't have to agree with my list. Hell, I expect you to fight me in the comments. But if you've made it this far, you already know. These pistols aren't background noise. They're the ones echoing the loudest in 2025. Carry smart, trust what's on your hip, and I'll see you in the next one.